Hello and welcome to Factory Default Build Trade Repeat, update 0.0.1.1. Mostly what I'm going to do is read through the update notes and show you in-game what it all means. If you want to check out the update and any other versions of the game, you can check out searchat.itch.io/fd. So firstly, we changed from square tiles over to hexagonal tiles. This is what it looks like now, but this here is what it looked like before. You can also see that I blocked out the rest of the planet, so it's a little more easy to focus on the country that you're working in. Kind of a before and an after. This change turned out to be much easier than I thought. I also decided to add to the number of tiles per country. The old rule was one tile for every 20,000 square miles. Now it's one tile for every 10,000 square miles. And there's some minimums in there if you want to take a look. This also required adding some opaqueness to the build buttons and the inventory screen there. Added some new items, starting with poultry feed, which requires 6 tons of sorghum, 6 tons of corn, and 6 tons of wheat for 18 tons of poultry feed. Also added pig feed, 6 tons of sweet potatoes, 6 tons of carrots, 6 tons of sugar beets for 18 tons of pig feed. For now, the other animals that are currently in the game, we can just assume that they're eating grass. I removed bones from the game as I did not have any use for them and I wanted to free up an output slot. Currently, there is a maximum of 4 outputs per recipe. I also added manure to the game as an output for buffalo, cattle, chickens, ducks, pigs, and turkeys. From there, you can make fertilizer. 10 tons of manure, 4 tons of phosphate, 2 tons of potash, for 12 tons of fertilizer. And that is right. Now all crops need fertilizer to operate. You can buy it for the sake of simplicity or make it yourself if you want to save some money. There really is very little fertilizer used, but if you have a lot of farming, it will save you a lot of money, particularly because it is an expensive item per ton. Also increased the auto buying of recipe supplies from 5%, which was the same as the market, to 50%. So basically, this building here that's making EV drivetrain assemblies, when it's buying all these items, they're buying it at a 50% markup. The way I see it, you can consider that this building is making an order for all these items every single day it's in operation. That is going to require a markup for whoever is selling these things. Also changed it so that only one power plant is available per country. So once you build a power plant in a country, you can't build another power plant in that country. This is because power is ridiculously overpowered as far as selling goes. Because particularly for power plants that don't have an input, it's basically just free money. I also adjusted the loans. In the previous versions of the game, the loan amounts started at 100,000 and crept up to 100 million. That's great, but no one is ever gonna use half of these because they're so little. You can't do anything with less than $1 million in the game. So it didn't make sense to even have those. So we doubled up on the ones that people are more likely to use, like the 100 million, 50, 25, and then there's different levels of APR, so you kind of want to focus on the ones that are cheaper, but if you run out of those, then you're kind of forced to use the ones that are more expensive. It's up to you to how you use those. As far as performance goes, I added a purge of item generation and item usage dictionaries. I removed all zeros. This should stop the World Tick Manager from getting slowed down by resource generation every day. This is because the item generation just goes through a for loop of every single item that could be generated, and now instead of going through every item that could be generated, it's every item that is generated. Multiply that by 30 countries and you can see how that would have some space saving. This will also shrink save game sizes. There were a couple of bugs in the game that I fixed. One that was bugging me is anything between -1 and 1 would not show up as anything other than 0. So now we have decimals. Before it would just show a 0 in this spot. If you look here, it's showing that there are 0 being generated, but we know that there is some being generated. Whereas here now we can see that there are decimal places. This was a silly issue. You can look at the changelog if you want to see what was going down. There's also a couple of other bugs that I can't really show you, but they are in the changelog. Something to note about this update is that saves from previous versions of the game will not work with the current version. This is going to be the case with most updates, but I will let you know one way or the other. Let me know what you think, or if you have any questions. Take care.